Hello and welcome to Ciao Bella Leadership. Heather here, working from my bed again. COVID took us out of the workplace for a little while, or a long while, it seems like, and I'm kind of getting back in the flow of things. So I'm starting right here where I'm most comfortable and getting back into the flow of daily life, if you will. And today's topic that I wanted to talk about is Carl Jung. He is a famous psychiatrist who studied, he's known for his work in psychology. He is one of the people that I geeked out about learning, and it pivoted my whole career towards psychology and sociology. Just that study of people, and his work is profound. I really geeked out on DISC, which is the personality styles that he uses. I taught that in the corporate world for many years, but what work I really learned about over these last few years during COVID was his shadow work, and really how he talks about us needing to embrace our shadow side, and that when we live in this mindset where we're denying our shadow side, that's where we have our depression and our sadness and feeling like we don't belong and trying to conform to societal rules or what other people in our family or in our community think that we should be like. And when we're doing those things, we're not fully conscious. We have not embraced our full self. We're still denying half of who we are, our entire shadow side. And so anyways, I met with a person yesterday who just happened to bring up DISC, and I'm so glad that he did, because it's something that I used to, I geeked out on DISC because I really believe in it, and I see it in work in people's lives all the time. It had a profound impact on my life personally as well as professionally in the time that I was using it. And I was really only focused on his study of how we engage in work and play, and I hadn't really dove into his shadow side work. And he studied, so many of the other psychologists of his time, or psychiatrists, I mix and match those terms, so I apologize. He's a psychiatrist and psychologist, but many of the others of his time, they studied institutionalized patients. And one of the books that he wrote was the study of normal people, right? And what is normal? That's so taboo. But the point is the shadow side of our unconscious behavior. I am just totally rambling. I need to get my notes together like I did before. All right, let's do. I'm out of practice, so what can I say? I'm used to hiking down the streets of Spain and walking around Paris and looking at buildings. For a little while, okay, I'm not even stopping the video. I was going to stop the video and restart, but I'm not going to. I'm going with the flow. So I isolated for a long time. After COVID, I ran from humans, and I was a little bit in that denial of shadow self, right? I was willing to look at how everyone else had hurt me, but I wasn't seeing how I had hurt everyone else, right? That was kind of blocked from my memory. We don't want to think that we do anything wrong, right? We're perfect, always. So anyways, I was on this journey trying to figure out my life after COVID, and my messy divorce and my kids empty nesting, and my life was upside down. I didn't know which way was up, which way was down. COVID happened. I got laid off from my company, which many people did. It wasn't just me, but it was crushing to my ego, right? And I couldn't figure out how it just, everything was was a mess. And it turns out COVID was this blessing. I had no idea what it was going to gift to my life. But because I was in this lost state of who am I no longer have a spouse. My kids are grown, doing their own thing. My job displaced me. I'm working from a high-rise in downtown Kansas City, which was completely different from how I'd lived my whole life in the suburbs and on acreage. And, well, my whole adult life raising kids. That's how I had lived. So, anyways, a big stew of happenstances. And I just felt like I was, I felt out of control. I was drinking more. I was exploring different prescription drugs, non-prescription drugs, just things to numb my existence and to, I don't know, give my life excitement. I'm not sure what I was chasing, but I was out of control for a little while. And like all the things that were important to me were slipping away. So I can't even explain what all I went through, but it was where I knew I didn't want to be, and I found myself there anyway. So as I'm floundering around during COVID, in a relationship with a guy who was really great, in so many ways, like an amazing person. Yet I knew from the study of Carl Jung's work that I really needed a partner that could speak the emotional language and understand the psyche of the mind, because that was the stuff that I geeked out on. And some people just don't dig that, and that's completely fine. We need those people in this world too. And he was an amazing friend and counterpart at that time in my life, because he helped push my brain to think of different things. He helped me live more in the present. He helped me do so many things that I was struggling to do in my own nature, given the space that I was in, with that emotional experience of flowing out of my marriage and out of my kids' childhood home, right? I needed that contrast and that difference, and it was really, really beautiful. And yet in our relationship, I felt this missing thing where we could just, I don't know, lay down side by side and geek out on talking psychology stuff in the mind or whatever, so I was in this constant head game of he's not my person, and it was such a weird, a weird battle. Like, I knew the answer, but I didn't want to let go of him because he's such an amazing human. I just knew he wasn't my human. Anyways, I digressed. I didn't mean to talk about someone that I dated during that time, but that was one of the components that I was going through, was this trying to pull in a new love into my life. And he was so much like my ex-husband, and that's a good thing. I was with my ex-husband for 20 years for a reason, right? And there was just this one kernel that could be improved so much in my home life, and that would be a partner that understood how to talk to me and engage about the psyche, just because that was my my passion and my play, right? And so here I was in a relationship, or a casual relationship, with another guy who also didn't like to talk about the psyche and the mind, but loved to play. And this time he loved to play. I mean, his kids were grown also, so he and I got to play on this big, beautiful playground of Earth, and explore different cities. He traveled for work, so some of that was tied to work travel, some of it was our personal travel, but it was a lot of fun. And it was a little bit hard for me to push away from that because so much of it was great. But here I was out of a 20-year relationship, and knowing that I did not want to go down the same rabbit hole again. Not that my marriage was horrible, it wasn't. It's just, if we're going to improve the one thing that we were challenged with the most in our home, wouldn't we want to do that? We would. So I had to go inside and figure out, all right, what's the common denominator? It's me. And what can I work on? And at the time, I didn't know per se that I was doing shadow work. I didn't really know what I was doing. I was just kind of following my internal guidance of, I had to get away, and I had to look within at the common denominator. And even though I felt like I was a really good person and I deserved all this stuff, and I was a really hard worker, things were falling apart for a reason, right? And what was that? Where had I gotten so off track? And where could I rebuild? So that's really what I was trying to figure out. And it wasn't until I completely isolated and separated from other humans and thoroughly evaluated my life with a fine-tooth comb, almost like I had a magnifying glass, examining every moment in time. Times when I was a child, times when I was a teenager interacting with people that were mean to me, times that I was an adult raising my children, times that I was a fearful young girl, times that, all sorts of things. And I just really looked at myself, and I was so proud of all of everything, all of me, even the sides of me that were oblivious to the impact of others, because I saw an innocence in it, and I saw just more than anything, what I saw was a very strong and driven individual that never lets anything stop her and always finds a way to learn and grow through whatever curveball gets thrown her way. And so I was doing this journey that I did not like. Mind you, the idea of hiking day in and day out every single day, sometimes with a backpack on my back, sometimes with a lighter load because I'd have the shuttle service move my backpack to the next town. But either way, it's just you and the pavement and Mother Nature to, talk to the cows, talk to the cats as you walk by, try to figure out why are all these buildings abandoned, and what's the food like that you're eating, and why does your body feel the way that it does, what do you need to change. And I had little kernels and pockets of information from different things that I'd done in my life to help me heal. But really, I was starting from scratch because I abandoned everything. I abandoned what doctors had told me all my life. I had abandoned what my families had told me my whole life. I had dropped what I had learned in school, everything, and I just said, okay, I'm not going to say that it's not true, but I'm also, well, in some cases I felt like it was not true, but I'm also not going to just blindly accept that all of that, what I had learned, was truth. I was going to test it with my body and start feeling the difference. All right, so remove the medication, start exercising, add in water, remove alcohol, add in fruits and vegetables, remove junk food. And, I still give myself those little treasures and treats that I like here and there. But I, one by one, tested my body to see what was good and what wasn't. Alcohol is a huge one that I realized was hindering me in so many ways. It was allowing me to put this mask on, and I didn't want or need a mask, right? And so the alcohol had to go out of my life. It really did. And I'll be honest, I'm still at the place of, do I ever want alcohol? And I love a craft cocktail every now and then with a nice meal, or I love a nice glass of wine every now and then. And it's nice. It's a nice way to, have something in common with another person, to hang out and get to know them. But sitting there and having multiple drinks, it just is not desirable to me at all. And in fact, I think it is a terrible workplace practice. So many companies use alcohol in their business practices, and I disagree with it. I disagree with it wholeheartedly. I think that it is dangerous. It is, there are legal implications. When I started at one of my jobs, I'll just leave it vague, I was not much of a drinker at all. And they drank during work hours. They drank during business meetings. My boss would schedule meetings that said V and CL, which meant vodka and Crystal Light, Husker party. And we would meet in her office and get drunk in the middle of the day. Not smart. it's not smart at all. And it was the beginning of a terrible downturn in my life. Now, do I blame them? No, I mean, they didn't force me to drink it. They didn't force me to drink it, but it was a business practice. And to be part of the team, it was socially normal. In fact, one of my first weeks on the job, I was in Omaha. I had a business trip to Omaha for a week, and the colleague that I worked with, she actually called there were two equal bosses, one in St. Louis and one in Kansas City at that company, and she actually called the boss and said, I just don't think this girl is going to work out. She doesn't even like to drink. If I ordered a drink and it was like the wrong lemonade or something like that, I'm like, that's all right. I don't like it. I'll just drink water. And she thought that was just wild, right? Which is fine. We just saw things differently. But and one of the bosses got on the phone and said, you don't have to drink if you don't want to. But it didn't change that was the practice of how everyone else in the office operated. Everyone else drank during their interactions with clients and interactions with other colleagues. And so over time, I started learning to drink different things. Back then, I only drank one drink. I drank vodka and lemonade. And if they didn't have the right lemonade, I didn't drink. So then they got me to where I started carrying Crystal Light with me, so that I could always have something that I like to drink. But then they started teaching me how to drink different things, how to like wine, how to like margaritas, how to like. And hey, it was a fun exploration. I did like lots of the other types of alcohol and things, but I had already established when I was a young child that I didn't want alcohol really present in my life. And there had been enough time between me dealing with the alcoholics from my childhood and when the alcohol entered my life that some of the pain and trauma that I had experienced from alcoholics was covered up or forgotten. And so it wasn't in the forefront of my mind. So when I started drinking and doing some of that in the workplace, I saw the value and the beauty it was giving me and the numbing that it was hiding me from the loneliness I felt at home, and things like that. But it did spiral out of control. Now, do I want to shake my finger at that company and their business practices? Part of me does, but part of me, the shadow side of me, sees that I needed to explore that. I needed to explore that so that I could master that, so that I could have it in my tool belt to talk about. And, I'm not an advocate saying that we need to rip alcohol off the shelves and never serve it to anyone again. I'm not saying that, although at times I started to think that. I really felt that it was that hard on my body. And I truly believe that alcohol is our number one culprit for cancer. I believe that wholeheartedly. That is something that came to me in my downloads as I hiked Spain. I see people all the time that are struggling with cancer and other physical illnesses, and when you look at their life patterns, you have to wonder. So I don't know. That's not my specialty. So I would like to see if there's any studies out there, honestly, on the impacts of alcohol and the relation to cancer. I'm curious if there is any relation at all. For me, luckily, I set down alcohol before I got any cancer diagnosis. Thank goodness. But my diagnosis was mental. I struggled with mental instability big time on alcohol. And once I let it down, I let go of the alcohol, all of this mental clarity has been coming back to me. It has been coming back. There we go. Get the words out right, Heather. Excuse me. Drink water, Heather. Drink water. I try to make myself drink 80 ounces a day, and I'm not good at it. I am not. So I'm doing better. I'm doing better. Except for I'm not getting it all in my mouth. Okay, water. So let's drink 80 ounces of water. Speak, Heather, speak. 80 ounces of water a day. This is our goal. You help me. How about that? Help me get back on track. I know it's good for me. So this is one of the things I told you in my life. I've explored pieces and parts of various things just in my explorations. And one of the things that I did was back in 2009. So prior to 2009, I was a smoker. I smoked for 15 years, believe it or not, cigarettes. I loved it. I used to tell my husband that he met me smoking, he married me smoking, he was going to die with me smoking. But eventually I did quit. He hated my smoke. He used to smoke as well, but he quit, and then he wanted me to quit, and I just had to find it in my own time when I wanted to quit. And I did get to that point. For me, I wanted to quit when I got to a point in my career when I would have to go to the airport to pick up business clients, and I didn't like putting them in my car that smelled like smoke. It was terrible. So that was it for me. I was like, no, I don't need to smoke anymore, and I was having some health problems. So doctors had said they had removed my thyroid, and I had a bunch of eye surgeries, and they had basically told me that I had, if I didn't want my eye disease to come back, that I should quit smoking. That the percentage of people that the eye disease came back were smokers. So it was a good time for me to set it down. And when you smoke for that long and you set it down, you kind of replace that habit with something else. So I started gaining a little bit of weight just from snacking and things like that. Because as a smoker, when you're done eating, one of the first things that you do is you light up a cigarette. And when you're trying to not smoke, you're like, well, I can't stop eating because I'm going to want a cigarette. So you keep eating, you eat a little longer. Anyways. So for a year, I told myself, just focus on not smoking for a year. Don't worry about your weight. We'll deal with that in a year's time. We'll deal with that. One step at a time, baby steps. So I did that. And in 2009, I joined Slim for Life. So I wasn't super heavy. I was just heavier than I wanted to be. I think I hit 140. And 140 for me was just, that was the number that I hit at 9 months pregnant with my youngest son. And I thought, I can't be the same weight not pregnant as I was pregnant. That was where I drew the line. So silly reasoning, I know, whatever, but that was my internal voice and what it told me. So I joined Slim for Life, and I'm getting back on topic here. I joined Slim for Life, and one of the things that I learned in Slim for Life is more of a balanced eating and maintaining hydration in your body, lots and lots of water, and I learned about portion sizes, and how 4 ounces of meat is really like the maximum portion size that we should be eating. And when you go to restaurants and order food, it's far bigger than that. And bread, for example, and pasta, and all of these things that we should be eating in smaller quantities, we get in these massive, huge quantities, which is making our bodies obese. So I'm not sure why in the world I digressed onto that, but that one moment in time going through Slim for Life, and I was on that program for 18 weeks, I think, because I was trying to hit my goal weight. I was trying to focus only on nutrition at that time, and then the next year was when I started focusing on fitness. So it was a 3-year process to me. I brought it all together. First, quit smoking, then nutrition, then fitness. And I'm noticing I'm kind of doing that same pattern again in this COVID mess, right? I let go of the alcohol and the drugs, including prescription drugs. Went on a hike and cleaned out my nutrition. It was hard in Spain, just ordering at the restaurants. The food would come out and there were massive chunks of meat and a whole bunch of pasta, and it was a little bit hard to eat how I wanted to eat without my own private kitchen. But I got back and got to my kitchen and cooked the way that I need to. But, and then I've been phasing in exercise. I was exercising during that journey, walking every day, but not I guess it was my all-day routine, and now I'm trying to incorporate exercise into my daily routine with my work, right? So it's kind of packaging it all together in this pretty package with a bow. So that's what I've been doing. Excuse me. The social anxiety for me has been really great as I've come back, because I pushed away from other humans for so long to figure out where I started and stopped and where my issues started and stopped with me, and where how I projected to others and what was healthy and what wasn't, where I needed to improve, all of that stuff. So it took isolation to get there, and there were a few people I let close to me throughout that journey, but not very many, and usually they still only saw a limited side of me and what I was really working on for myself. But fast forward, oh goodness, how many years? I guess it's been 3 years. How long has it been? I need to do that. That math. I think it was 3 years, because the first year was kind of denial, like, oh my gosh, this is happening to me. How is this happening to me? What is happening to me? Help me. I didn't really know what to do. And then I kind of went into all right, you can fix this. You can fix this, because anything that's ever happened in your life, you've always found a way to fix it. You can fix this too. So I did. That's what brought up my social anxiety, what I wanted to talk about. So, pardon. Social anxiety. So in coming back and starting to meet with people again, it's a bit hard, because I don't want to pick up the social norm armor again. I'm going to just call it that. So, like, for example, the dating scene. I struggle with, well, how do I date when the conversation is always, do you want to meet for drinks? And do I have that conversation right up front, or do I just order a drink and sit there and have a drink casually and be fine with it, and then talk about it later? Because it's not like alcohol bothers me where no one else can drink it. It doesn't. I just know for me, if I drink too often, depression starts to set in, and it's not comfortable. So those are some of the things that I'm dealing with as I'm incorporating myself back into social settings and meeting with other humans. And I had a meeting the other day, which was really exciting. I met with a person and we just drank water, and he showed me how to do poi, and it was amazing. There was no alcohol, there was no anything like that. But I will say that, and see, I'm trying to stop myself from using the word but, because there's not, but negates the things before, and it's not negating the things before, it's and. So that was beautiful, having the opportunity to learn a skill and get to know each other on a healthy path was really, really beautiful. I've been exploring marijuana as a tool to help me with my social anxiety. I know that it's something I don't want to use as a daily practice, but it's something that is kind of helping me in the transition of morphing from this isolation that I've been in for a few years to, okay, I can talk and be in a group setting and not be an annoyance to other people. And so it's serving that purpose for me, but I have a great respect for it, because like any other drug or alcohol or medication that I have touched in this lifetime, I have seen that in a small measured approach can be beautiful, but without intentionality and care in the way that we're using it, it can become a crutch or an addiction, just like everything else. And just like cigarettes, I eventually put cigarettes down for the sake of my job and the health of me and other people around me. And I see the same thing with marijuana. I see the beauty and the value in it. It's really helpful for some mind work and intention setting and relaxation when entering a group setting, things like that. But it's not something that should be depended on or yeah, it won't become a standard practice, if you will. It's that bridge that's helping me transition back into community style living as I embrace my newfound confidence and wisdom by exploring my shadow over these last few years, and surrendering the shadow for the light side. They're both parts of me. They're both beautiful parts of me. Our shadow side is just as beautiful and just as important as our light side. We just choose which switch to have on when we're engaging with other people, right? And I personally like the light switch. It feels more pleasant to me. It feels more pleasant to the other humans around me. When I celebrate them, I feel celebrated. When I leave interactions and I feel like, oh, that wasn't so bad, I am reminded that the time I took to heal was needed and valid and important, and the best investment that I could do for myself. It was elevation for my career, and maybe others haven't seen it yet. That's okay. They don't need to. They can see it as it happens, right? For me, I know the profound difference that it made in my life. And Carl Jung's work has been a huge influence on my career and on my life. When I started teaching DISC in the workplace, talking about how for centuries we've been studying the differences in people, and it's been studied in ways of blood, bile, and phlegm. Back in the day, it was studied with the way the stars were aligned. And then Carl Jung, his work, they studied the behaviors of normal people. And, all of these studies have built upon one another. And I've actually started to dive and immerse and understand a little bit of the world of astrology now, too. I thought early in my career it was more of a dated science, and now I see that it all really works together. It all really works together. And so the stars have been feeding me full of knowledge in my journey around the world and with plant medicine. And I don't know, I feel like I'm rambling now. I totally am rambling. That's what I get for not having notes prepared. But right now, I'm polishing my practice, and my practice is talking about, excuse me, pardon me. The foundation for all leadership is self-leadership. I was an amazing leadership, but and when my self-leadership took a turn for the worse, I crumbled, and I feel like I bit it hard. So I had to remaster my self-leadership, which I mastered early in life by watching relatives and friends and family who had struggled. I didn't understand their struggle, but I saw it from an outsider view, right? And then here I was many moons later, diving in and experiencing it myself. So what I will be teaching and talking about going forward is maintaining that foundation of leadership, because it ebbs and flows in life as life experiences ebb and flow. And how are we handling them? Are we handling them in a positive way or not? And frankly, I did not handle the failure of my second divorce very well. I went into it thinking I was going into a forever marriage, and building this home around my extended family, and I took it really hard when I realized I had to make some changes in that scenario. And I went on a crash course derby for a little while, like almost giving up. And then I thought, that's silly. I'm still so young. There's still plenty of time to build that beautiful home that you always imagined. You're only in your 40s. You're not dying. You know, people think our 40s that I was starting to think of retirement and all of that. Now I look at life and think, I'm only in my 40s. Like, I'm halfway there. Let's just say halfway. Okay? I've got a whole lot more time left. Beautiful time with grandbabies. Oh my gosh, that's gonna be exciting. Because with grandbabies, you get just the fun stuff, and you get to send the hard stuff back with the parents. You've already done your part, right? So, anyways, while I don't have notes prepared for this talk, and I do feel like I talk in circles a little bit sometimes, I'm polishing my practice of professional work again. And the interesting part this time is that I'm pulling in our personal life as the foundation for what our professional life is. So I have this ability to, yes, work from my bed and tell people that, okay, maybe right now you are laying in bed, depressed, don't want to get up, drinking your life away, smoking your life away, on all kinds of anxiety medicine, whatever it is. You are worried about the things that you've done in your past. You're wondering when things are going to come back and haunt you, whatever. Those kinds of things, it's not too late to turn your life around. It's not. That is the curtain call moment that I describe, where you should connect with God and your higher source. And if you don't want to believe in God, okay, don't. I didn't believe in God just because, I don't know, there were a couple of things that happened in my church that I disagreed with, and and I had never seen any signs of true God and what that was. So when I went on my journey, it was like, all right, if there is this God that's putting signs and synchronicities in front of me and trying to help me along the way, how does he see me? I have to review he or she, right? I have to review my life from that kind of mentality. And that's what I started doing. And there were some things I wasn't proud of. I'm not proud of at all. And they were all of my drinking moments. And I didn't like myself very well. And the best thing that you can do is, that's the curtain call moment for you to explore that shadow side and say, okay, if you don't like it, why are you doing it? If you don't like it, what can you change? If you don't like it, what do you like? And then you can start answering those questions and rebuild your life again. a process, one step at a time, to get you there. And it takes a lot of courage, a lot of bravery. So whatever you need to make you comfortable in that courage and bravery and stepping forward, if that means you start getting back into the game right from the convenience of your favorite bed. Like, I bought this mattress. It was the best purchase ever. It is so comfortable. The company even went out of business. I was so surprised. I looked it up the other day. Anyways, I digress. But this mattress is amazing. I missed it terribly while I was in other countries hiking around the world. And so when I'm back, I feel comfortable here. I can wake up to the sunrise. Actually, I haven't been quite catching the sunrise. I've been waking up about 6:30-ish, or a little after, and so the sun is already up. But I make my bed. I hardly move when I sleep, so I just make my bed real fast, and I start recording whatever topic was on my mind the evening before. That's what I'm doing right now, and it's working. It's getting me comfortable talking again. That was always my favorite part in my job, was the days that I would have classes to facilitate, whether I was teaching communication styles, conflict resolution, generational differences, emotional intelligence, all of those things. It was passion for me to get groups of people in a room talking about it and collaborating and talking about their work situations in their life and how this information helps and influences their work. It was just joy to me. Those were the days. So I had a woman ask me many years ago in an interview, and it was a profound question that I've always hung on to, and it's a great way to see if you're in a good job fit. Excuse me. And the job fit question is, what is it that you do in your day, and you come home at the end of the day and you feel amazing, on top of the world? And what is it that you do in a day and you come home and you just feel exhausted? What are the two different things? Because the one that makes you feel energized, that is more your purpose and your passion and the things that you should try to do more of. And the things that you do that you come home and you feel totally stressed and whatever, those are the things that you should try to do less of. Doesn't mean you don't ever do them. We should always polish and work on the things that that we struggle with, right? So that we can be better. But when you're trying to figure out the best job fit, you pick a job that has more of the things that fuel your soul and your fire, right? And so speaking is that for me. Listening is harder for me. And so it was always fun in facilitation sessions, because I could easily listen when people were in their group settings and collaborating and bringing in their thoughts that they were going to share with the rest of the group. That was the kind of listening that I do. Walk around and listen to the groups as they're interacting, interject if any group is struggling, things like that, and then come back with the group as a whole and help everyone share. And some people don't like to talk in front of big groups. For me, that's fun and empowering, but I help ensure that everyone's voices are heard, especially those who are quieter and not wanting to come out with their voice, helping ensure that maybe they don't have to be the one standing in front of the group talking, but that their beliefs and opinions have made it to the chart where their group was talking, and that they're being able to share their fears, their concerns, their thoughts, their everything, just like everyone else's, even though they're not speak forward type people, right? Anyways, I found the flow of that type of work to be my calling. I just loved it. And the things that I didn't like, I did a lot of, but it was the very detail-oriented work, working on spreadsheets and the data analytics, and I had to do plenty of that in my life, but and and when I would do those things, I would I would dread it. I wanted to just figure out how to do it and understand the concept of it and provide the information that I needed and hand it off to someone who liked to do that work. It's so much nicer when you work with the team of people and you can all appreciate and understand who is good at what and who likes what, and you can share the responsibilities and get each other's voices heard through the collaboration part. But then when you go to the delivery of whatever it is, each of you takes your own parts and you run with it, the part that you rock, right? And for me, it's I've always been good at putting together programs and parties, even for my family home. I used to put together these New Year's Eve progressive suppers where we would take a school bus and go from one house to the next, and just things like that. I loved to organize and host those sorts of things, and challenging conversations for corporations, and just problem solving whatever client issue that they have, or whatever. In banking, we years and years ago, we were faced with our hours changing. And suddenly, we had bankers' hours back then, 8 to 5, and suddenly we were going to stay open later on Thursdays and longer on the weekends. And so we had all of these working moms who were like, I don't want to work late nights, I don't want to work weekends. They wanted to have time at home with their kids and their families, and I understood that. So it was like, how do we handle this transition? What do we do? Now, I could have just taken on what was given to me by my managers. You've got to start scheduling your staff with these hours, and then I could have just picked and plotted people on there and had the whole team pissed off at me for affecting their work hours. Or what I did instead was I said, I'm not going to create the best plan for your all's work life. Who am I to pick who needs to work what day? So let's have a competition and let's all figure out, let's play with it. Let's play with the schedule. Anyone who wants to create one and come up with one that they think will be fair to everyone and we can adapt, great. That person gets, I don't remember what the prize was, but anyone who wants to submit their ideas for scheduling and how we rotate the staff through these new hours, let's consider it. And everyone really liked it. It was eye-opening to people. They suddenly saw how difficult the scheduling task was for the manager, and sometimes the managers don't get credit for the work that they do. They just get complaints of, they scheduled me this and they scheduled me that and they didn't give me this day off. And if you had any idea what it is like for that manager to create the schedule and make sure every single shift is covered, make sure there's openers and closers and lookouts, and and this person has this day off that they need, and this person leaves this at this time to get their kid picked up by the babysitter in time, and there's all these things that you have to remember. There's all these things, and people get mad at the one person that does the task because they don't understand everything that goes into it. So when you have a challenge like that, if you can take it and you can say, hey, all right, let's talk about this. How can we handle it? How can we address it? What do you think? Get them involved. Then it's a little bit more of a peaceful process, because they're trying to put a schedule together, and they're not going to schedule everyone else those hours and them none, because they know that the whole workforce wouldn't be out to get them, right? So they do it in a fair way. Always getting the people involved that are impacted is a good idea. It's the smart thing to do. Another experience was and also in banking, when online banking started happening. Banks were kind of stuffy still, wearing suits, and I love wearing a suit. I love dressing up and wearing a suit. But we were advertising about how you could do your online banking from home. And so I decided, hey, let's get permission to work in our pajamas. And people will say, why are you in your pajamas? And then we can say, because you can now bank from home. And it worked. It was so fun. We had a blast. People came in their robes and slippers and curlers in their hair, all kinds of fun things. And it reminded me of a memory from my mother. I think I might have been in grade school. I don't know. I forgot my lunch, and she came to school in her robes and hair rollers to bring my lunch or my lunch money or something like that. But anyways, while I was doing this experience in the office, it was kind of a little fun childhood memory, but that worked. We made a lot of sales on online banking. It just got people talking. It got people thinking outside of the box. And yeah, why do we have to wear a suit at work? And why do we have to do this and that? I've never been one to do things traditional. I use tradition and pull traditional concepts in, but then I like to put a fresh, beautiful spin on it. So anyways, that is what it is, and I guess I'm done talking for today. Carl Jung, thank you for all of the research and work that you've done. The shadow work was amazing. It was hard, but profound. See, I'm going to take that word out of my vocabulary. And profound. So that's it for today. Peace, love, happiness always. I am going to get to work on my office in the other room. I know it's fun working from bed and all, but I do need my office space in the other room to be ready. So, all right, take care. Peace, love, happiness. Heather here.